How does a small but popular chain store that specializes in selling fun, bright, comfortable clothing become the center of a scandal that included insurance fraud and murder? This is the story of the former Columbus, Ohio-based chain store, Just Sweats. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of DannieBSpeaks Presents Not Another True Crime Podcast. I'm your host, Tahir Ali, and in this episode, we're going to discuss the case of the Just Sweats scandal. Now, a little background on Just Sweats. Many of us who lived in Columbus, Ohio during the mid-'80s to, I'd say, about the early 90s may remember a chain store that sold affordable, comfortable, and colorful workout clothes. Along with that, they had very quirky commercials. In 1985, Just Sweats opened its first store in Columbus by a young con man named John Hawkins and his middle-aged lover, Jean Hansen. Due to the fitness boom of the 80s, the store became such a huge success over a very short period of time. Because of the success, Jean and John decided to expand, opening to a total of 22 stores throughout Ohio and Kentucky within just a few years. Now, many people who were in business and who were friends with them felt that they had expanded way too fast. The expansion ended up costing the small company deeply. More money was spent into the expansion than was actually coming in, from overbuying merchandise to the commercials, which starred John himself. But for what they were selling and the limited demographic, the commercials were way overpriced. The couple/business partners became way in over their heads, and while nearing a possible bankruptcy in 1988, John and Jean came up with a plan to fake Jean's death so that they can try to cash out on his $1.5 million life insurance policy. So, they decided to reach out to a friend to assist in pulling this off. That friend was Dr. Richard Boggs from California, and he was at one time a very highly respected neurologist, and he helped create Satellite Health Systems, which would become one of the first HMOs in the United States. Satellite Health Systems would grow fast, but it failed to make a profit. Because of this, Richard began having money problems of his own, and he did end up filing for bankruptcy in 1977. His family and friends say that after filing bankruptcy, Richard was never the same after that. And now he was tasked with procuring a dead body to pass off as his friend Jean. In 1988, Jean started telling people that he was dying of AIDS. Neither was true. He was not dying and he didn't have AIDS. But this was a setup to his upcoming fake death, and the people would think that he had actually succumbed to AIDS and wouldn't really question his death, I guess. So there's that. Now, in April of 1988, Richard makes his first attempt to kill somebody to acquire their dead body to pass off as Jean. The would-be victim was Barry Pomeroy, who ended up going to the Glendale Police Department and said that Richard had tried to murder him by prodding him with an electric device after meeting him at a bar called The Spike, and he ended up inviting him to his office for a free EKG. I mean, that's... Okay, so, sidebar. If I were to go out and just meet a doctor, maybe he was having issues or felt that he was having issues, but I want to know how the conversation got to, oh, I can give you a free EKG. Okay, well, anyway, let's move on. Even with Barry going to the police, the district attorney declined to press charges because of a lack of cooperation, of course. And the case is even dismissed as a lover spat. So, okay. Also, due to his former success and reputation, Richard still had a little clout from his former success in the HMO business. Not to be deterred by a failed death attempt, the following week, the next attempt would sadly work. Jean and Richard meet a man named Ellis Green at a bar. Go figure. After leaving the bar, Richard ends up tasing Ellis, and he is then murdered by suffocation. Now, there is conflicting evidence as to whether Richard was actually there when the murder happened or if he wasn't there, but Gene did state that he was with him that evening. He never stated that he was with him during the murder or not, so that was still up for debate even during the trial. So, after Ellis sadly dies, Richard then puts Gene's driver's license, credit card, and birth certificate in Ellis's wallet. The following day, Richard calls 911 to inform them that a longtime patient of his, Gene Hansen, had died from a heart attack right there in his office. Richard even claimed that he tried CPR but was unable to revive him and just decided to go ahead and call 911. A few days later, John flies from Columbus to Los Angeles to identify Ellis's body as Gene's. Because remember, they were lovers and business partners. He then immediately submits a claim for $1 million of the insurance money. Gene's alleged body was cremated immediately to destroy any and all evidence. In July of 1988, John received a check for $1 million from Farmers Life Insurance. However, everything was about to come crumbling down real quickly. In just a few days after receiving his insurance money, a caseworker at the insurance company discovers that the thumbprint taken at the morgue didn't match what was on the record with the DMV. Other things that piqued their suspicions was, one, the body of the man they had identified as Gene had an extremely high blood alcohol level. This meant that he would have been blackout drunk during the consultation. So how do you have a consultation when you're blackout drunk? I mean, you know. 2, the temperature of his liver was measured and compared to the temperature at the clinic to estimate the time of death. The results indicated that Hansen had died 6 to 7 hours before the doctor actually said he did. However, because of Richard's standing in the community, the detectives stopped looking into the case and the coroner reported his death as natural causes. After 2 other insurance claims were denied, John, in a panic, withdraws $400,000 from the Just Sweats accounts and flees to Amsterdam. So, dude said, I am out of here. Y'all gonna handle this on your own. I'm out. While there, he purchases a boat so that he can travel freely. So now, because John is on the run and Gene is still in hiding, the Just Sweat stores are just left abandoned. I always wonder what happened, like why the store just closed, because from what I remember, the stores were actually doing good. Like it was always crowded in there. You know, people were always purchasing. And I mean, they had like, let's just speak for today. Like if that store was around today, I mean, they had like plain t-shirts in there and things like that. If you wanted to go get some t-shirts made, they did that. So there were a lot of different things that they had going on in there, but the stores were just left abandoned, and that's why they ended up closing. Not long after John flees, Gene ends up fleeing as well. So how did they get caught? In 1989, security at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport take an interest in a man who appears to not only be extremely nervous, but he also has fresh plastic surgery scars on his face. He gives a fake name but is carrying Ellis Green's driver's license. Also in tow is a library book. Wait a minute. Okay, let me back up real quick. So he's carrying around he's carrying around Ellis Green's driver's license, the man who they actually killed and played it as it was Gene. Shouldn't he have got another fake ID or something? Because eventually, people who think they're smart really are dumb, but let's keep on going. So besides the driver's license, also in tow is a library book called How to Change Your Identity. I mean, the man, of course, ends up being Gene Hansen and is immediately taken into custody. While being interrogated, his punk ass says that he actually paid Richard $50,000 for a dead body. And remember, y'all, this is in the late 80s, so $50,000 to me, it's a lot of money still, but in 1989, it was a lot of money still. So anyway, he admitted that he paid Richard $50,000 to get a dead body, but he said he had nothing to actually do with the murder. So he never admitted to, and this is what I was speaking on earlier, he never admitted to being involved in the murder. Didn't mention that he, never mentioned that he was there when the murder took place. So there was never any definite on that. But he does admit to get him a dead body, basically. So the following year in 1990, I don't know how many months this was from when Gene was arrested to when Richard was arrested, but he was arrested in 1990. And he claims that he didn't kill Ellis and that he was already dead. Okay. He then says that he only participated in the insurance fraud scheme because Gene threatened to out him as gay. And of course, we don't want that. But listen, let's just talk about it for a quick second. When the girls start fighting and blackmailing each other, it's about to really go down. Okay, just FYI. Always know that. So no matter how much he tries to downplay his role, Richard ends up being convicted of murder and is sentenced to life in prison. With Gene and Richard both in jail for not only murder, but also for insurance fraud, remember, John Hawkins, the con man, is still on the run. So, when the con girls, they know what to do. Let's just keep it real. But now let's enter John Walsh in America's Most Wanted. I used to love watching that show. And his story is sad. That's a totally different subject. But Cops and America's Most Wanted, or whichever order it came in, Saturday nights, boom, I was there. So anyway, John not only does a segment on his show of the crimes, but also heads to Oprah Winfrey's show. And of course, it was the biggest talk show at the time. She had John Walsh on her show where he discussed this case and the manhunt for John. Now, after the Oprah show airs, John's former girlfriend in Amsterdam, who actually saw the episode, she offers information about his possible current whereabouts. In August 1991, then a little over 2 years after the murder, about 2 years after the murder, John is found in a red catamaran off the coast of Sardinia. And Sis got the nerve to be extremely angry and belligerent, but I guess I would be too if I'd been on the run for 2 years and get caught. Nobody wants to get caught. Let's just keep it real. But he had the nerve to be a little cocky at the same time. Why not? He denies over and over again that he is John Hawkins, but they arrest him anyway. In August of 1995, Gene Hansen finally goes to trial. He maintains his story that he thought Dr. Boggs was going to use a cadaver and not actually murder someone. But the jury doesn't buy it and convicts him of murder, along with insurance fraud. He is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Less than a week after Gene's trial, it's John's turn. He claims the same thing, that Richard was supposed to use a cadaver. The state of California ends up dropping the murder charge against John because they couldn't prove that he actually knew about the actual murder taking place. But he is sentenced to 25 years in prison. So where are they now? Dr. Richard Boggs died of a heart attack at Corcoran State Prison in 2003 at the age of 69. From what I could find, Gene Hansen appears to still be alive but remains in prison at the men's colony in San Luis Obispo, California. John Hawkins was released from prison after serving 20 years of his 25-year sentence. He has done numerous interviews since his release. Now, John admits that he was a hustler. He was a bisexual model and used his looks, body, and charm to pretty much get what he wanted. And he felt that he had cashed in when he and Gene not only became a couple, but also became business partners. And as I mentioned earlier, at the beginning, Just Sweats was doing amazing. They just moved too fast. But in business, that's what happens sometimes. In the beginning of their relationship, he says that as a 25-year-old, he was on top of the world. But his immaturity and narcissism and arrogance led him to believe that he was not only entitled, but invincible. Today, he currently lives a quiet life in an RV with his mother in San Diego, California. Now, my little 2 cents on this case, I really don't have much to say about it. I remember going into Just Sweats as a kid. My mom and aunts would always go in there and get clothing items to wear when they were working out or just something comfortable to wear. It's just, I just think it's sad and it's ridiculous that greed and pride get in the way of sound judgment, let alone when you got a few coins in your pocket and some popularity. That's a bad combination, but I digress. To me, and this is just me, I've never been in that situation, yeah. The smart thing, I think that should have been done was that they should have just closed some of the stores and possibly just filed bankruptcy. But that ego gets in the way and you just don't think about anything, especially consequences for actions that you're trying to take to prevent you from going down a particular road. I mean, let's be real. No one wants to file bankruptcy. Well, maybe some people don't. But when you make bad business decisions, sometimes you just need that bailout. And I hate to say it, but it's there for a reason. I mean, let's just keep it real. Now, obviously, they didn't think that they would get caught, but at the end of the day, they need to ask themselves, was it worth it? And many people in situations like this that think that they can get away with everything, is it worth it? So anyway, that was the story of the Just Sweat scandal. So I want to thank you all again for tuning into DannieBSpeaks Presents Not Another True Crime Podcast. I hope that you all enjoyed the show, and I want to apologize for my stuffiness and everything, but my allergies are on fire today, and I didn't notice it really until I started recording. But anyway, it's that season. Don't forget to check out my other podcast, DannieBSpeaks, the podcast. You can listen to both shows on my website, DannieBSpeaks.com, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Audible, and my YouTube page, DannieBSpeaks, where I have also re-uploaded my old podcast. So go back and enjoy those while you're listening to the new one. Now, also on my YouTube page, I post nostalgic videos. I have some different mashups that I'm going to be working on, music mashups, I should say. I'm just trying to practice on my DJing skills, because I remember, for people who don't know, I did used to DJ years ago. It's just something that I always enjoyed. I always loved music. So I just wanted to just get back into just doing some mixes just for fun, just for fun, because it's something that I always love to do, to play with older music, newer music, mix them, whatever, different genres. So there's that. But also on there, I'll be having other original content that'll be coming soon, like where I'm going to be doing documentaries and just totally different things. If you have paid attention to anything that I do, from my website from the beginning, from my blog, DannieBSpeaks.com, you know that I'm all over the place. When I decided to make this a business, I said that I'm going to do what makes me happy, because if I don't, then it's not going to be fun for me. And if it's not going to be fun for me, it's not going to be good for you all. But yeah, that stuff will be coming soon. I'm working on my channel trailer right now and my intro. And as I mentioned, there will be other original content coming, not just documentaries, but various different things. Now, you can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at DannieBSpeaks. Also follow me on Apple Music. That's where I share some of my playlists that I create myself. And on Apple Music, I am under Tahir Ali. If you need to reach out to me for any business inquiries, such as promoting your business, products, etc., on my podcast, on my website, my social media platforms, if you want to discuss collaborating with me or sponsoring me, anything like that, please hit me up on DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. Speaking of collaborations, I have another podcast out. We are going to be doing episode 7. Yeah, I believe it's episode 7 this week. The podcast is titled Girl, You Know What? And I co-host that with my longtime friend Keisha, who is the owner and operator of Wellness and Women, as well as Flowing Tresses. You can follow her social media and visit her website under her brand name, Wellness and Women. That will lead you to her other business and information. The podcast is just two friends who talk about any and everything, but there's always a message or lesson within our discussions. So check it out if you haven't yet. I know you will enjoy it. You can listen to that one as well on Spreaker, Apple, Google, Amazon, Audible, on both of our websites, DannieBSpeaks.com and WellnessandWomen.com. Also on my YouTube page, DannieBSpeaks. Be sure to also follow our IG page for the show at girl_you-know-what. Also, my merch line is coming soon. I'm shooting for late spring, early summer release. Hopefully, keeping that goal right there. But as always, I appreciate you all. Be sure to continue to support or start supporting the DannieBSpeaks brand. There's going to be a lot coming. It would be so greatly appreciated. Trust me, it really would. What people don't realize is that just a follow, a share, word of mouth, it can really go a long way in this realm. I mean, period, for business, but especially when you're a content creator, just those things. And it doesn't take anything. If you can share one of my goofy, stupid memes, you can share one of my blog posts. You can share my podcast. I'm just saying, it's just throwing that out there. So until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other. Be safe out there. I can't really say mask up because, we don't have at least here in Ohio, we don't have the mask mandate. But if you choose to still do it, mask up. But also make sure to drink your water, take your vitamins, all that good stuff. And I will catch you all on the next one. Take care, you all. Peace.